mic'd up. Today we have two new guests. We got Ryan Bugay. I used to work with him at BSF. Great guy, awesome guy, man. Pretty sharp too. And we also have Roshawn Jacobs, one of my homeboys I grew up with in Gonzales, Louisiana. One of the most athletic and sporting event guys that you want to know. You know, we used to always go watch him, and we knew he was going to be something. But today, we're going to touch on, we're kind of going on a whole other subject, life experiences, you know, as a man being in America. You know, as you can see, you know, we have Ryan and Roshawn here. Ryan is a white male. Roshawn is a black male. We just want to kind of see their different life experiences and opportunity, and so far as, you know, whether it's schooling, job, you know, and kind of compare the two, you know, because, you know, a lot of times these days, the way things are going, we see, you know, racism plays a lot a part in these days and the way things are going, and, you know, we just want to have open dialogue and try to get to the bottom of, you know, what can we do to help this situation out to make it better. So I'm gonna start off with you, Roshawn. And so far as, you know, opportunities and things that you've witnessed, you know, as a black male in America, what are the advantages and disadvantages, in your opinion, from what you experienced?
So, from my personal experience, you know, the advantage for me came because, like you said, I was an athletic person, and I played, you know, certain sports, and that gave me an advantage. That gave me okay, he's all right because he's dedicated to his sport, or he's okay because he works hard at this, or he's okay because our school or our community, you know, is, you know, on the backside of what they're doing, and, you know, they're trying to do something great. And in a sense, you know, it was a give and take because, you know, that was a lot of pressure as well, living up to those things, living up to what people expect you to be, living up to, you know, hey, I need to be this person all the time because this is what's happening here in the community. And they're expecting me to be a certain way. And that's hard as a young person. You know, I experienced that starting at about 13 years old for myself at Gonzales Middle School. And it came with me to East Ascension, and it came with me to Woodlawn High. And it went with me to college for the rest of my life. You know, so just being that person all the time, that was a really tough thing for me to deal with. You know, my mother worked in education, my father worked in administration and education, and it was just having to be in that box. So it was great some days, but some days it was hard. Just being able to live up to those standards every day.
Okay, well, tell me this here. And I understand what you're saying because, you know, the expectations change, especially, you know, your parents being in education and things of that nature. Your dad was well known. But do you think, you know, because of you being a young black man, do you think that made it more difficult, or were you at an advantage? Or just like you said, maybe, say for instance, you didn't have sports. Just take that out the game, out the picture. Do you think your opportunity would be the same as it was because of who you are without sports?
So if I personally didn't have sports, I don't think I would have been invited into white homes. I wouldn't have been invited to places in Shenandoah or, you know, Santa Maria, and the places I went and the things I was able to see at 16, 17 years old. I wouldn't have that. You know, my sports career at that time is what fueled that, and is what fueled people who have an interest in me. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? When they talk to me now, oh my gosh, you can hold a conversation. He's, you know, intellectual. You know, gosh, I didn't know you had a 4.0. But, you know, without sports, I wouldn't have been invited to those places. I wouldn't have had that avenue to go, you know, to Rufino's when I'm 16 and, you know, not have to pay a bill.
Okay. And Ryan, I want to look at your perspective on how do you feel, so far as the opportunity and advantages or disadvantages as a white male, coming up?
Similar to him, like, I played sports, and, I did come from I would call it an upper middle class background, whereas my mom was the breadwinner versus my dad, which is a little different, but I feel like I had a lot of opportunities that were different. Like, I played two sports. I was baseball and football, and I was looked at differently depending on what sport I played. In baseball, just another white guy plays baseball. I played defense in football, and I feel like I actually had to prove myself more because I was white. Like, people look at it as a white linebacker trying to play college football. Like, people kind of looked at me like I had to actually prove myself more that way than where I was coming from. But I feel like people did look at it differently because I was white as far as my education. Like, they didn't even ask me about my grades the first time I went on my trips. Like, whereas, like, I've witnessed people next to me, that was the first question they asked them, was, like, how's your grades? Can you even qualify for the school? I wasn't even asked that until further on in the process. Where, like, let's look at your grades and see how they are. And there was people that had far better grades than I did. I mean, I didn't have bad grades by any point, but my grades weren't as much of a factor, and I think that might have been because I was white versus African American. Personally, I'm not 100% sure about that, but yeah, I got you.
So it's kind of like, for you, from what I can take, it's kind of like flip flop. Like, well, Sean, you were speaking on the advantages of you have for sports, but it's kind of like with you, it's more like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It's more on the educational part. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You have the advantages. Like, they sort of like kind of looking at, the expectations were different for you, like you said, for football. So, I mean, do you think, just speaking on, how, you looking at it, do you think, well, Sean, your opinion, just say sports, like you said, would you take this as a normal take, as your opinion, when you look at sports, black guy, white guy, you would, from what I hear, most of the time they say a black guy more athletic.
Right. I think that's that's the premonition, that's the thing that we believe. Like you said, you play linebacker, position that you got to side to side, all these things that you need to have some, skill set, and you don't see white guys playing linebacker anymore. They're obviously playing guard or center, some position like that, and like you said, that's the position that he played, and if I saw he was on my team, I would be thinking, what the hell can he do? How is he going to cover somebody coming up the seam or the middle, whatever the case may be? How is he going to cover that slot receiver or that back out the backfield? And it goes both ways. It's a catch-22, and obviously he was able to do those things. But if I first saw him and I looked at him, I said, "Oh, that's a different thing. It's a different monster. Why is he here?"
That was one of the first things my coach wanted to do when I got up there was like, "You move the defensive end," and I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, I don't know if you're fast enough to play outside." And I'm like, "I run a 4.5,"
Right.
But like, it was just an assumption that was made that, like,
see, and that's another thing that I was going to get at, and that's what I think, as a country, the world, that's a thing, that's a stigma that we assume because of your color, your race, or whatever the case may be, that you're that stigma, and that's by me having this open dialogue, that's the thing that I want to break, that stigma on, like, okay, I got Roshan here, I size him up, he doesn't look too intellectual, but I guarantee you, he's out on that field with athletic, one of the top, guys that play ball, or so forth. But I have Ryan here. He doesn't look, I don't want that stigma. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, man, if you're not open-minded, that can fool you. Yeah. Matter of fact, I just seen it. You know what I'm saying? going out there playing basketball on the court, you underestimate somebody, size them up, you look at it, and you assume wrong. So I don't think, even with, do you think, Ryan, just say for instance, not even sports, just in maybe job opportunities, do you think yourself, I'm speaking of, do you have an advantage or a disadvantage?
Advantage, absolutely. I absolutely feel like I have an advantage. No, I started jobs and I've had bosses instantly just, I could tell you're hard work. I'm like, how can you tell I'm a hard worker? I haven't even worked yet. You know what I'm saying? Just do an interview process, and you know me, I'm a hard worker. Like, I do my job.
You are.
But I feel like certain bosses look at certain people certain ways just based on their appearance, whether it's a male, female, Caucasian, African American. Like, people look at people differently just based on their appearance.
Right.
And it's not even always color. It could be the way you dress. Like, people look at people differently. Somebody comes in looking disheveled every day versus somebody that's clean cut, put together. People make assumptions. A guy comes in, he's got gauges in his ear, tattoos all over his arms. Like, people gonna look at that guy and be like, that guy might be trouble. Like, you don't know nothing about that guy. That guy might have a 4.0 GPA and a 36 on the ACT.
So, how important do you think? I mean, I think it's important to a certain degree, but should people be judged off their appearance? Roshan?
I don't believe you should judge people off their appearance, but it happens daily. I work in administration in the school system, and if you see me right here, Ryan's first time seeing me, he would never say you work in administration at a school, at a high school where you're with kids every day. Because right now, look, I've got wild hair, I've got tattoos on my arms, I'm free flowing. He would never know that. Without me telling him so. Or when we start talking, he's like, okay, he's got some substance with him. But at the same time, and that's how we, as, people, black men, white men, whatever, whoever living, who they are, their truth, they get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
Just because it's that first take. My first take when Ryan got here, man, he got a really nice comb over. He got a nice hair. That's what I told him, because he looks really nice right now.
Right.
And I'm kind of just like showing up, t-shirt, wild hair.
And that's what I like. You're authentic. You're not putting on, but at the same time, but that's a perfect example of what I was speaking on. You can't be so judgmental to where, you gotta let somebody talk. When somebody speaks too, that brings out a lot too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Understanding their language and how they talk, and it's so much more to just what meets the eye. You understand what I'm saying? And what I get out of it is, people look at everything first time. I don't think it's right, but it's like the second and third and fourth chances aren't there. Once that person get that in their head, their mind, that's pretty much it. That's my opinion. I don't think that should be like that.
There was a study done by the Brookings Institute, I think a couple of years ago. They did this study, and it showed that over 70% of people's opinions on people were formed and reinforced within the first 5 seconds of meeting them. So the first time somebody meets somebody, within 5 seconds, over 70% of people make up their mind about that person within 5 seconds. So, like you said, as a society, we have to get past that point where we're willing to meet somebody, shake their hand, and then go peel back and go deeper. You know what I'm saying? Because most people, they meet somebody and they already have their mind made up about somebody before they even open their mouth most of the time. And that's something as a society we definitely need to be working on for sure.
And it's like, man, I don't think, sometimes, people say, man, you can't use that as an excuse and this and that, so forth. But I do think, it just depends. And I want to clarify this today, on this particular subject. There's a difference between prejudice and racism. Do y'all agree?
Yeah, so.
You know what I'm saying? I can be prejudiced even with Ryan, because I know Ryan's my friend. Ron's a good friend. I can have another black guy that I don't even know, but I know Ron. I'm gonna probably just human nature lean more towards you because I know you.
Right.
Racism. The only difference is you choosing or whatever the choice that you make is because of your skin color. Point blank period. Not because I know you or whatever. It's because of your skin color.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of people get those kind of mixed up. So, but moving forward, how do you think, I'm going to ask you the opposite question of you. How do you think, moving forward, myself as a black man, how could you think I can improve my opportunity as a black man? Your opinion.
You on a personal level or like as a whole?
As a whole.
As a whole. Because like I feel like integration at a younger age, because I feel like people assume we live in a more integrated society these days, but I feel like it's even more segregated than it was back then because it's more of like the haves and have-nots, and it's like I went to a private school for most of my life where there was one African American out of 1,100 kids.
Wow.
If I wouldn't have played sports and like Little League and stuff like that and been around African Americans, Spanish people, I would have never had that opportunity to interact with people that don't look like me because my school didn't give me that opportunity. So I feel like as a society, if we did a better job of integrating people early as far as like through groups, through school, like people being exposed, because I think exposure is the key to people being comfortable with things. Like we're all uncomfortable with things that we're not used to. And if you grow up as a kid in the middle of Kansas in a town of 3,000 people with nobody that doesn't look like you, the first time you get around those people, it's different to you.
Right.
And a lot of people correlate different with scary. And I feel like people that don't know things are scared of things. And like if they're not around people that aren't like them, they're more worrisome. They're judgmental. All they know is they go off tropes and stereotypes that they've heard from other people. So allowing people to interact more with people that aren't like them, whether it's gay, straight, interracial, whatever, like giving people those opportunities, I think allows people to be more comfortable with them when they get later in life. I feel like they'll do a better job of feeling comfortable with people.
Right.
That's just my thoughts on it.
Right. What about you, Ro?
Well, I agree. I agree with that. We have to start earlier. Moving together, moving each other together, hanging out with each other. We grew up in Kennedy Heights. We can have the Caucasian families in our neighborhood. We didn't see those people until we went to school, if it was Gonzales Middle or East Ascension. We didn't see those, but our neighborhood was so close knit that that's all we knew.
Right.
So now when we get to high school or we get to middle school, we're interacting with these other folks. It's a block. It's we come to a park in the road that we don't know how to go, where to go, how to react. Should we understand what the kids from St. Teresa are talking about?
Right.
That was a big thing for me when I went to Gonzales Middle School, from Gonzales Primary, or when I went to East Ascension. These kids from St. Teresa, they're different type of kids.
Right.
They've never seen me. I've never seen them. And that just leaves you at a fork in the road of how to interact. I think that we have to do a better job of just, becoming one and trying to understand, and for us, growing up in Kennedy Heights, we were kind of segregated from other African American communities in Paris.
Absolutely.
We weren't playing with kids from Worthy Road,
right?
Playing with kids from Pinner Park.
We was quote unquote known as the rich black kids,
right? Because we were middle class, you
right.
know what I'm saying, and so we didn't play with those kids. So for us, we had to prove ourselves to those people as well. So for me,
so it's sort of like a cycle.
It was a cycle. It was, I'm fighting on this front right here, and I'm fighting on this front right here. I'm not white, but I'm not black enough because I don't struggle. Or, I'm not white because I'm not white, and so it was hard for me to balance that. So it's not my fault that we didn't struggle. It's not my fault that I live this way. But that's being white, and you're not white, and it's not my fault that my parents do this and that. And so I'm not like you guys. So they, both sides are not, nobody's bringing me in,
Right. And that's kind of, especially as a kid, that's kind of a tough position to be in. And that's what I try to now to relate to different people. You don't want to be, you kind of want to be sort of like in the middle. You don't want to be so up there to where you can't reach down, but then you want to be so down to where you can't, you know what I'm saying? It's you're kind of teetering, teetering those lines. But the point that you made, man, I love that point that you made, like you were saying, like, especially us growing up, you had the whites that we went to school with, and, you try to, get with them and talk to them and understand them, but then you had the other kids that was a lot less fortunate than us that would look at you, man, you think you all that, y'all think y'all better than us, and that was some of our same race. Right. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And it's like, man, it's not even like that. Is it our fault that our parents provided for us and provided that kind of life for us? But I'm not looking at you any different. Exactly. But, so, like, say for instance, do you feel comfortable, I'm going to ask you, Rashawn, do you feel comfortable a job opportunity comes up and you don't know the person personally, but there's a white person up for the job and yourself. Do you feel in your heart confident enough, the way society is, that you're going to get a fair shake? They don't know either one of y'all.
So for me, honestly, I'm going in there with the glass half filled. I don't believe that, like you said earlier, that first 5 seconds is important. If I come in there, with my shirt on, my head looks like it is, my whatever I'm doing, whatever my outfit is, and unfortunately, because of it looking like that with a nice comb over, I'm shy. I believe in my head I'm shy. I've got to wow this person. I've got to really be on my stuff and knowing the substance that I'm talking about in this discussion, in my interview, and hopefully once he look at my resume and what I have to offer, if it's my bachelor's, my 2 master's degrees, just let me know, this might take up for this. This is my natural, this is who I am, this is me being me. But at the same time, I'm also this guy right here on this paper. But, if I come in looking like this, he's not seen any of us, first impression, those first 5 seconds, like Ryan said, is everything.
Vital. It's very vital. So, Ryan, you agree with that too?
I think it even starts before that. Like, I personally have known for a fact that hiring managers go through our resumes and they'll look at names on there and see a name like Rashonda. Just throwing a name out there. And automatically assume
Rashawn.
That's a black female. Wow. Like, I know for a fact that's happened. Like, I'm not a hiring manager, never hired anybody. I'm not throwing myself out there, but like, I'm friends with people that have been in positions like that before. And I feel like a lot of people will say they had a bad experience with a Spanish female or African American man, and they look at it as like, this it could have been a bad employee, lazy person, didn't do their job. Then they now judge all people like that the same. Well, I had a bad experience with Lolita, so now I'm not hiring anybody that looks like Lolita because I had bad experience with Lolita. Right. So I see
that's not fair.
It's not fair, but like I've seen it happen. So before it don't even get to the interview process sometimes. It's like they're looking at this, they say Jonathan Smith, Lolita Sanchez, Gregory, whoever, it's like Michael Jackson, Sean, like boom. Which names do you think that hiring manager is pulling out of that pot? All things being equal.
Exactly.
And that's just keeping it real.
And to piggyback off of him, for me, myself, everything that I put on, if I'm applying for a loan, a refinance for my house, anything, I'm putting Elva Jacobs. Elva sounds a lot safer than Roshan. R-O capital S-H-O-N. E-L-V-A sounds way safer. Sounds, he could be, good person, wholesome guy. But R-O capital S-H-O-N on a paper or on a resume is different.
Well, tell me this shit, in y'all opinion, whoever answers first, what you think we can do as people to break that kind of thought process, that kind of thinking?
I think it has to start young. I hate to say this, the people that are in their 50s and stuff like that, it's like, I'm not going to say they're a lost cause, but like, it's a lot harder to break through to somebody that's older than it is younger. And like, getting somebody comfortable with people that don't look like them, that have different names, that might have different backgrounds. If you start something like that early, I mean, everybody agrees, if you look at 16 to 22-year-olds today, they're far more progressive, caring, like, they're okay, like, if they have a gay classmate, they have no problems with that at all, like, they're used to it.
Right.
Whereas, when I was in high school 20-something odd years now, there was no out people in my high school. Even though you could look at somebody like, I think that person's on the DL, like, nobody was openly gay back then. Right. Today, like, these kids are
so basically, you're saying that change is going to have to start with the younger generation coming up.
I feel like the younger generation can help lead the older generation,
right,
almost in the opposite direction. Like,
right.
And I feel like today they are doing a better job with that. Like, younger kids are so much more tolerant of race, sexuality, everything else. I feel like, so it gives me hope that there is something on the horizon.
Right.
But like, a lot of these hate, like, I'm a firm believer. I believe racism is a learned behavior. And
I was just going to touch.
Like, so I'll be honest. I grew up in a household where I would say my father was racist. My mother, not even had a racist bone in her body. My father, pretty racist person. Like, even to this day, he'll throw the N-word around like nobody's business.
Right.
And like, but if you asked him if he was racist, he's not racist. Like, that's just, he just looks at that as normal. My dad's 70-something, 73 years old. Like, that's just the way, like, he was raised. Like,
and this is just my opinion, the way I look at it. I don't think racism should be met with racism.
Exactly.
Or racism should be met with hate. This is the perfect example of how I think we should get through open dialogue.
Yes.
What made you feel this way toward that person because of their skin color? Where it came from?
Right.
And when you have that open dialogue, a lot of times I think we realize when you have that open dialogue and honesty with each other, you will find out how much more you are alike with that person than different. You know what I'm saying? Because I look at a lot of that. What is beneath this? We all have the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like somebody has to break that cycle. And I think you're 100% correct. The younger generation, that's where we have to rely our hope in right now. Because, like you said, the older you get, you're set in your ways. And, but even myself, I'm not going to say that. I'm open to, but I've never been like, you know what I'm saying? My parents always taught me to understand that, because, it was I'm going to tell you, I had a little situation. When I was in high school, I was dealing with a white female on the DL or whatever. But, she wasn't my girlfriend or anything like that, but, we had dealings. But the thing was, it was on the aspect of, okay, my mom would tell me, son, are you able to go to this girl's house? Are you able to do these things? Now, my mom, dad, we don't have a problem with you doing it, because we're not racist or anything like that.
But the parents probably had a problem.
But what you have to expect is what's coming after this. Because guess what? I don't think they have the same heart that I have as so far as if it's open and it's fine and I'm good with it. Do their parents feel the same way? Those were the questions that was asked. So, son, you know what's coming behind that if you get caught.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you look at it like, bro, hey, like, I'm not, and my mom would tell me, I don't think that's best for you to do that. Not because she's racist, because she's not. But what she's saying is so much going to come behind that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because society definitely wasn't accepted as it is now. You know what I'm saying? When, it's a whole, still a lot of people have problems with it, but it wasn't nearly like what it was back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I was in basketball practice, man, and cops came to basketball practice. But you live and learn. Your parents tell you, and that's what I was saying, that racism is taught. Yeah. I'm a firm believer it's taught. It's not something, because you can get two babies, infant babies, 1 2 years old baby, different race. They'll play with each other all day.
Don't know the difference.
And unfortunately, and as they grow in that household,
right,
that's when things start to change. So, I don't know, man. I want that cycle to break, man. I don't, you can't, but I know this, you can't meet racism with racism or meet hate with racism. You can't do it. It's not going to break now.
Right.
That's not going to break the cycle. You have to come with love and try to understand why that person is the way they are and where it came from, and try to dig deep and find out what's the problem, what really it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've always struggled with that because I'm a big student in history. And it's like I look at two people who I think are excellent people. I look at Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Their philosophies are a lot different. Malcolm X is more militant versus Martin Luther King was a complete pacifist.
Right.
He's like, turn the cheek, take that hit. I mean, as they're getting beat on the streets in Alabama, he never fought back. Whereas Malcolm X is like, we got to be militant. We got to fight back.
Right.
And I always struggle with which one of those is the right way to go, because there's only, I agree that like you need to be pacifist, and like Martin Luther King's thing eventually won a lot of victories because people eventually even white people saw like, man, look at these people getting their skulls cracked in the street. This is wrong, versus like, how long can society put up with that though?
Right.
How long can people just keep turning the other cheek and keep watching people getting murdered on the streets?
Right.
Whether it's by police officers or whomever.
Right.
A suspicious man jogging down the street gets murdered by 2 guys. It's like, how long can society keep in that aspect without finally turning and saying this is wrong?
Right.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to take more white people standing on the side of African Americans saying this is wrong.
Right.
And I feel like we're starting to get there, but there's still some people that don't want to go there. They want to keep things segregated.
It's a tedious. It's a
fine line.
Yeah, it's a fine line, man. Because you got people have so many associations,
right,
jobs, and different things. They don't want to break that, connection because they don't want to step out. But at the end of the day, you have to be a man about something. Right is right, wrong is wrong. I don't care whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever the case may be. And I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to stand by that. I'm a firm believer of that. And at the end of the day, I just think, having open dialogue and being honest, even if, Ryan, if you'd have came in today, bro, and that's what I want, man. Like, you'd have came in today, I don't too much care for black people. Damn, it's been a shock, but at the end of the day, I would have said, well, why not? What can you say? What is it to make you feel that way? Where you got it from? And that's how you open up that open dialogue, and that's how we're going to become closer and closer to getting that cycle broken. Because, look, like I tell you, man, even with this thing with our president and everything, some people may dislike what I'm about to say, but at the end of the day, he's human too. And what you got to understand is, if I had him sitting down right here, and I don't just 45 and 46 talking
about Donald Trump or Biden?
Oh, Donald Trump. I'm sorry, not our president of today, but our past.
I think those are two totally
different guys. Right. I would just have an open conversation with him and see, what he's. You know what I'm saying? It's something what causes the way people think.
Right.
And feel you have to be open minded to talk to people. That's how you create change. You don't just go off on them and say this. Nah, I'm not gonna say them. I will vote for them. No. But at the end of the day,
you would like to know what's in his
mind.
What's in his mind? What's his thought process? How we get here.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's how change happens, man. You don't just punch, and just, you know what I'm saying, go against everything. Why are you thinking like this? What is causing you to, what happened way back when to make you feel this way? What is your thought process? So, and that's what I'm saying. People, you can't meet racism with racism or racism with hate. You can't, it's just not going to work. That's, past years have shown that. It's not going to work. You just got to have this open dialogue and try to understand. And what I mean by understand is just respect somebody's opinion. Respect the way they may feel. And that's how you may change the way they feel and the way they think.
That goes a long way. Me personally, my son goes to private school. So he's going to class with Jonathan and Christopher Robin. And Christopher Robin's like, hey, can Xavier come over and spend the weekend at my house? For me, I don't know about that because I grew up in a time when that wasn't per se the thing to do.
Right.
It didn't happen, and I had Caucasian friends, and I remember the first time I stayed at somebody that was white's house, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, whoa, man, I didn't go to sleep till, 3 a.m. So it was just so uncomfortable. Even though I knew his parents were good people, they didn't have any inclination about African Americans, you know what I'm saying? They were okay with this 6'4" nigga walking through their house and getting something out of the refrigerator at 12 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Just being, honest.
Right.
But it still hit me like this is awkward.
Right.
And I can't project my insecurities on my son. And that's why I'm like, okay, he can go. Yeah, you can go there, stay at Christopher Robin's house for the weekend and whatever, you know what I'm saying? So you guys are in class, it's only 3 African Americans in the class of 20.
Right.
At his private school. But me, it's been a bigger deal not projecting my fears and how I grew up on my kids.
But that goes what we were saying, like what Ryan was saying. That younger generation, you gotta allow that to happen. Because they're the one that's going to create that change.
Right.
They're going to start they're going to start that process going. So you have to, like you say, your insecurities, you got to put that to the side. Okay, man, this is not me. This is not my era. I got to allow my son to, create this change. And hopefully this will turn out to be something positive.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
We're seeing it now. We've had 5-6 college football coaches and basketball coaches resigned or fired in the last 6 months because they talking with an insensitivity that they don't understand that, hey, these kids now have a voice.
Yeah.
They, like Brian said, they're accepting each other.
Yeah.
White boys, black boys, Asian boys, Hispanic boys, they all accepting of each other. And, if the white boy stands up to this white coach and says, hey, coach, that's not going to roll, you can't say that because that's my boy. That's my bro. That's big. You know what I'm saying?
That's big. And that's where it starts.
And that's where it started. You've seen it now, in team sports. That's the first place I'm really seeing it where it's getting tread and it's turning over. With the coach at Creighton and the coach at Penn State, using words of language that, is demeaning to African Americans. And it's the white guy that's coming saying, hey, we got to talk to that athletic director about this because that shit ain't going to fly.
Right.
Like, that's a big step in the right direction.
Sports have always been the avenue for change. And we saw it back, in the Olympics in the 70s. Fist up.
Right. Absolutely.
Because when you play athletics, especially on a team, like, you're going to war with these people. They're your brothers.
It's a bond. That's what I'm saying.
Like, it doesn't matter. Young, white, black, doesn't matter. Like, that's your brother. That's somebody that, like, you count on this person to do their job. Like, you slept with them on Sunday mornings, after the game. So, like, I feel like those people that have been integrated that way are way more willing to stand up and say, like you said, this is not right.
Right.
Like when I grew up, I was kind of torn both ways because I played rec ball and at least half my team was African American. I went to an all-white high school, I went to Riverside Academy, and there was a lot of racial stuff that went around that school. And like we played, I remember West St. John was one of our big rivals, almost all black public school across the river. And the way that team looked at us and the way we looked at them was terrible. the things that were said on those football fields were absolutely terrible. And I ended up playing college football with one of those guys later, ended up becoming great friends with him. But like just seeing that like it was a weird experience for me because like I'd already been integrated, whereas most of the kids that went to my high school only knew white kids, only hung around white kids. Right. But because I played rec ball, I hung around all kind of different kids. So hearing them throw the N-word around, like, oh, we're playing that trashy team, you know, all the monkeys on that team. That's literally what they would say, like animals. They use the word animals a lot, and I'm like, it's just dehumanizing people. It's like, back then, I'm ashamed to say, like, I would just keep quiet, you know, like, because like
when you're in a hard situation, you're afraid to, you understand,
afraid about the trend, but like you were saying today, that wouldn't happen today because today the white kid on team wouldn't be afraid to say something.
Right.
He'd be like, hey, that shit's not gonna fly. That's not okay.
Right.
But back then, when you're one white person out of 100, and you're hearing that, knowing that my two best friends are twins named Terrence and Tavares that literally sleep in my house every weekend. Right. Like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut back. Right. And it honestly took me going to college and living with an African American for a few years that I feel like completely changed my mind. Right. Not saying I was racist before, but I didn't realize some of the things I might have said or did were racist. Right. You know, but once I lived with somebody, it's like you realize this dude's just like me, bleed the same way.
That's the point I was saying. Understanding and having that open dialogue and just understanding the person. That's the way to create change, man. But man, we go cut this thing off, and bro, I really appreciate you, Roshan, and Ryan for coming on, man. This is a real big topic, man, and I think this is a great start, absolutely, for change, man, and I appreciate y'all. So I want y'all to hit that subscribe button, hit the likes, leave comments, and till next time on Mic'd Up, peace out.